You have reached the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast voicemail. If you want to leave some feedback about Toyotas, have questions about Toyotas, maybe poke some fun at Toyotas, or let us know how your JL came with a Starbucks membership, then leave it all on the line and we'll get to it on the podcast. Keep crawling.
Well, welcome everybody to Snail Mail. This is our Friday episode where we get to do some more interactions with you guys. If you are astute watchers, you will notice that Jimmy and I are still wearing the same outfits from yesterday. We don't like to change or shower on this podcast. So, yeah, that's going on. That's the explanation there for you. So
I only wear one article of clothing all week.
That's true. We're both pantsless right now and underwearless. So
hey,
what are you doing down there?
Don't look at my BBC.
Anyways, welcome everybody to Friday. This is the Snail Mail episode, right? So we get to chat with you guys, have a good time, listen to your guys' feedback, questions, anything you guys got. I don't know, whatever it is. We pretty much play it, and for the most part, we haven't ever cut one out yet that I know of.
Nope, not at all. So you guys have been very political, or PC, I think is the word I wanted to use. That political would probably get cut out.
I'm waiting for a Ben Drankin to call in because I'm pretty sure we won't be able to play that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that would be fun.
Yep. Sherpa maybe too. He's made some phone calls before, and
he has yet to call into this.
True.
That would be fun.
That would be fun.
Sherpa, you need to call in.
Does he even exist anymore?
I don't know. I haven't heard from him since we refused to go wheeling with him.
Yeah, I pretty much hear from him once a year. And it's usually like 2 days before he goes to Fordyce, and he's like, "Hey, we're going to Fordyce this week. You guys want to go?
I'm in town. We're leaving tomorrow. Ready?"
Yeah. Oh, thanks, bud. Thanks for the invite and the heads up planning. Anyways, where were we? What are we doing here?
Snail Mail.
Snail Mail. That's right.
We got voicemails from you. What are we up to? 20 voicemails. Yep. What we burnt through 7, I think, last week.
A lot. It was quite a few.
Yeah. So, and then you guys, I think we had 22 last week.
We started at 23. Went down to whatever, and now we're back up to 20. Yeah.
So we're trying to catch up slowly but surely. We're about 2 weeks out from when you leave the voicemail.
Pretty much, yeah. So this first one here is from our Gladiator on 28s.
Perfect.
Let's see what he's got to say here.
28. We demoted him even more.
I'm going to keep demoting him. Every time he calls, it's going to lose an inch in tire size.
21-inch wheels.
Oh, he's actually over in Idaho right now, isn't he?
He is. At this current moment, he is up helping with the roll build.
The sperm whale?
Yes, on the sperm whale.
Got it. Okay. Nice. Let's see what he's got to say. Maybe he wouldn't have an update. This was like 2 weeks ago.
Right.
All right. Let's see what Nick's got to say.
Hey, Jimmy and Tyler, it's the Gladiator on 29.
28.
I just listened to the Slick Rock podcast, and you guys asked me to call in. So my feedback is that you guys did a great job of listing the trail, what it has on it. I will say you were a little out of order on the obstacles a little bit. Once you go up the granite slab, you go through a little rock garden, and then it's the V-notch, and then you've got all the camp spots on the water. And the part about where you guys talked about camping on the other side of the river, from what I've heard, that's not allowed. That's a protected area.
There you go.
At least as far as the club knows. I could try to dig in more and see if I can find out more information, but I've always been told that that's a no-go for camping. But I have seen people do it, and I do agree it's a low-impact area as far as being affected by campers. Why is Slick Rock my favorite? Well, it's kind of the first trail I really cut my teeth on. The first difficult trail I did in my Tacoma back in 2014. I'd been wheeling a lot of the OHV parks and stuff like that, the fire roads, but it was the first trail I cut my teeth on and said, this is for me. I love rock crawling, and kind of kicked off that whole area of my life. And so, yeah, I'm a walking Jeeper now just because they have adopted that trail since like the 70s. And I want to take care of it. So last year I actually got to open the trail and cut 30-something trees that had fallen down over the winter. Trail hasn't opened yet. We're hoping it opens in the next couple of weeks, but we did see it on a closure order until 6:30. So hopefully that ends a little sooner than later. Well, hope to see you guys soon on the trail. Let me know if you have any feedback. Bye.
And that's why I wanted Nick to call in.
Yeah.
If that spot on the side of that creek is protected area, then for sure stay out of there. Like I just assumed it was just public national forest land. That's just all granite slabs and no real dirt at all over there.
Yeah,
it's not super comfortable to camp on. There's not a whole lot of shade. It's all open granite, but I've seen people over there. If it is actually protected area, that's good to know. So
right. Yeah. And in regards to the trail opening, I did see that Stellar Built and Trail Tacoma and Trail Forerunner were out there this last weekend.
Oh,
so I'm assuming it's open.
Yeah.
Because they were out there. There is a gate on it, right?
I don't think there's a gate on the Spicer side. I think there's only a gate on the Alpine side.
Interesting.
No, there is a gate on Spicer, I think.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember now.
The one and only time that I've been out there.
Yeah.
So I would assume that there's a gate out there, and I would assume if it's closed, they would not drive around it.
Yeah.
So I'm going with the assumption at this point in time that the trail is open.
Nice.
A week ahead of what Nick said.
Okay. Cool. So yeah, that's good stuff. Thanks, Nick, for calling in and correcting the order of obstacles and the a wilderness or protected area maybe.
Yeah.
So.
I don't recall Nick's teeth being super sharp or anything.
I don't either. That seemed kind of like a weird comment.
Yeah. I don't know why he would.
It's almost like throwing cats around a yard. I don't know.
That person that throws cats around the yard has trimmed teeth.
And he cut it on granite.
Yes.
So. Oh, that's funny. All right, next one up.
Speaking of which, I took some coffee out of the tap back here.
Yeah.
Very fun to pour coffee.
It is, right?
That's pretty cool. And it's some tasty coffee as well.
Yeah. We put a candied almond coffee from Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
It was a random thing. The wife was out and was just in a mood. She goes, I want candied coffee. Okay, I don't care. So she brought home candied coffee and we both ended up really liking it. So that's what we made the 5 gallons out of too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a wee bit sweet for my personal taste, but I mean, I'll finish it. That's not that's not a problem.
You're not going to turn away coffee.
Not at all.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty cool. It's fun to, I could have a cup back here. I can here. Let's grab a whiskey cup. We can put some Kahlua in it too.
Oh,
but you just kind of put it back here and go boop.
And you got coffee.
And you got coffee. Cheers, genitals.
I wonder how long coffee's shelf life is.
It's nice and cold too. I don't know. That's a good question. I would imagine with the nitrogen in it, the nitrogen is inert, right?
Yeah. So it should last a while.
A long time. It should last longer than it's going to take me to drink it. So
in theory, I wonder if there's an oxidation point from before you put the inert gas on it.
I would imagine so. Cause I mean, it took me 4 days, I think, to make the keg.
Yeah.
And so whenever I added the coffee into the keg, I closed the top and solidified it so it's airtight. So it wasn't like recycling the oxygen constantly.
Right.
But
well, if you're going to open that bottle,
I'll
take a little bit of that as well.
This is the dangers of recording at a bar. The Kahlua is right here at my toes. So we're not going to put those on camera for you guys, though. That's the other channel.
The toes?
Yeah, the toes. Yeah. Put our toes on camera.
The OF channel?
Yeah.
Only Feet?
The Only Feet channel. Yep. So anyways, thank you, Nick, for calling in. That's the coffee update. Let's see. We got next one here is from Zack from Oklahoma.
Sweet.
He's got 2 in a row, and the first one's long. So I'm guessing they
ran out of time?
Yep.
All right. Yeah. Bring it on, Zach.
Here we go.
What's up, Jimmy and Tyler? I love the Blues Clues intro for the Snail Show, or the Snail Mill podcast.
I forgot all about that.
I got to relive some of my childhood with that. But I'm actually calling about an old episode. I forgot what episode it was. It's like one of the high 200s or something like that, where Tyler, you had a person sleeping in your garage overnight.
My tenant.
By the way, I think you handled it great. Called the cops because you didn't know what they were going to do if you tried to wake them up. And from the sounds of it, they did exactly. They didn't leave quietly.
No, they did not,
so to speak. I actually have experience, not in this type of situation, but
he's sleeping in other people's garages.
People who are experiencing homelessness, and yeah, that definitely was the way to go. Now, I might have tried to wake them up just because I have experience with de-escalation, but also sometimes de-escalation doesn't always work out like you think it does. So, yes, cops are good to call there. Other thing is, you don't know what they're on. Probably what I would have done in the situation is check their fingertips and their lips to make sure that they weren't blue, because that's a sign of OD.
Yeah.
Because they're OD on something. And I carry NARCAN around so that I can give it to people if I need to. At work, we've had to do it a couple times. There was one guy that had to be NARCAN like 3 or 5 times.
What?
Yeah. If you don't know what NARCAN is, it is a substance that you can administer through the nose, and it will bring them out of the OD. This only works on opiates, like fentanyl and other stuff like that. It won't work on amphetamines, though. So if it's an overdose from amphetamine, there's not much else you can do. You can call 911 and hope that they get there in time for the person. As for using NARCAN on somebody, you administer it once. They should wake up pretty much almost instantly. If you have to administer it again, wait a couple minutes before you do it again. It's not going to do anything if you do it too soon or whatever. It's just to make sure that when they come to and they start going back into the OD.
Oh, that's where he got cut off.
That was the cutoff.
Here we go.
Zach's got an interesting background.
Yeah, he
that
does.
I did not anticipate.
Yeah, I was not anticipating that either. Like, what kind of to purposefully carry NARCAN around,
right?
In case you need to use it, and then having to have used it before.
There's something more to this story.
I think Zach has a lot of life stories to tell.
I think so.
Let's see what he said when he called back and see if we can finish this off.
Well, I'm back. My phone got disconnected for some reason.
You ran out of time.
But I was talking about the NARCAN. It is safe to administer even if somebody's not on opioids. It's just a safety precaution. Now, 911 will stick around for at least 30 minutes to make sure that the person doesn't go back in to the OD, because NARCAN is meant to counteract the effects of the drugs. But it does have a time frame of when it wears off. It's
kind of like
ideally you want it to wear off when the drugs wear off, so there's no adverse effects or anything like that. I carry NARCAN on me when I'm going mountain biking or biking around the city. I usually carry it in my truck. I need to refill that before I head to Ohio. But we have it everywhere at work. NARCAN saves lives, really. If you want to know more about it, just look it up. I don't know how California can get a hold of NARCAN, but I know Oklahoma, you can just talk to some organizations around the area, like Shred, to be able to get a hold of some, whether you or a family member experiences these things and want to be safe or keep them safe. NARCAN saves lives. I definitely would look into it, and we should probably spread the word about this stuff, because it'll help out for people experiencing these things. But anyways, have a good day and keep crawling.
Don't know how to answer that.
I don't know how to reply to that.
Well, I think we could start off with, I remember the episode when you had somebody sleeping in your garage.
Yep. And they were definitely on something. I don't think they were overdosed. I mean, they weren't overdosed. They woke up and were responsive, but they definitely did not know where they were when they woke up. So
they had a good night.
Yes.
Zack went off a little bit on Narcan. Yeah. And I do agree. I mean, I think even if you think you're good, your family's good, who knows, might be around, who knows who might come over, it can definitely save lives. I do think once the mini assistant gets a little older and possibly into the, quote, party stage of her life, I'm going to keep some around for maybe if, her or her friends possibly come over and might have a problem. One of the things I guess I should look at is how long is the shelf life on those things and what it is. I'm fairly certain you can just go to a pharmacy and get it.
I believe so. In California, I'm pretty sure you can. It was a big thing in California for a while where they're trying to get a Narcan out to as many people literally as possible.
Yeah.
Because it definitely works, and there's a big opioid problem in California. Yeah, it definitely works. It definitely saves lives. I go on the fence with it. I would rather educate people to not get into opioids and have opioids, better opioid education out there. I do know that a lot of people that get into opioids end up getting into it because they get put on pain pill subscriptions from their doctors.
Yeah.
And so that was a big issue. I want to say in the 2000s, 2010s, was people getting hooked on opioids due to medical usage. And then their medical usage expires or gives up. They can't get it anymore, and they're still on opioids, still addicted to it. So I have problems with the way to solve a problem is to create a solution for the outcome of the problem rather than solve the problem itself.
Sure.
That's just me in any form of life, whether it's opioids or whether it's campfires, right?
Yes.
That's just me in general. So I don't know. It's not necessarily anything against Narcan or against opioid users. It's just, I would rather solve the actual problem of opioid overdosing rather than.
Yeah. There's always this instance of an accidental use.
Totally.
Right. Like somebody got sold something that was deemed to be opioid or fentanyl free, and then it comes down to be actually having the drug in it.
Yep.
So I think that, yes, there's an absolute point at which there's an education barrier, but there's also, you should probably have it just in case of an emergency.
Yeah. Kind of like EpiPens, I guess.
Yeah, like you should never get stung by a wasp.
True.
But,
but if I go attacking a wasp nest on top of a 20-foot ladder.
If you decide to walk down the road one day and you get stung, you put yourself in a bad situation.
That's very true.
Or you should probably just have an EpiPen.
That's why you don't go walking outside, kids. That's why you go in a vehicle at all times.
Yes. Go from the house to the garage into the car.
Anyways, thank you for calling in, Zach. I think that is a very fair and valid point to try and get more the information out about Narcan. So Uncle Pool called in next.
Pool. Mr. Noodle.
We're gonna bring a couple pool noodles with us, just FYI.
Perfect.
All right, so Uncle Pool, let's see what he's got to say.
All right.
Hey, Kevin again. Hey, I think I found all the information. I forgot about the my off-road radio has some of that ham radio stuff on there. I'm gonna sign up for some of those things. But hey, I heard you guys talking about the campfire permits. I've actually had this question with a lot of forestry, and they always just laugh at me. So campfire permits, everything that the two forestry people I talked to said that it's mainly California. Nevada does require it as well, but there is one thing to be careful with. If you're going between California and Nevada, and let's say you have firewood in your rig and you go from California to Nevada or vice versa, sometimes you need like a shipping permit or something like that. They basically don't transport wood or firewood between the two states. But everything that everything that I know, basically California and Nevada are the two that require it. One of the guys I talked to said he's been in Idaho, Oregon, and a couple other states as far as with BLM and the forestry, and they don't require it. Just California and Nevada. I guess the more you know. All right, you guys have a good one.
I think more states should require a campfire permit. Look at you go.
I was almost there.
You're so close.
Yeah.
I personally think every state should require fire permits, campfire permits, just because it's important to, you would think that putting out a fire is a very simple and easy thing, a campfire, but it's so way more often does it happen where I see people don't put them out correctly than I see people do put them out correctly.
Sure, I'm with you on that. And maybe it's just the fact that I'm in California and all I do is hear about California.
Maybe, yeah.
But I don't hear or know of a lot of other states that have as many wildfires as we do. I do know that Washington and Oregon do get some. I hear about those, but anything else, I don't hear about it. Like, so to some extent, I understand that, like, hey, and maybe it's just me being in California, but since California gets so many wildfires,
yeah,
maybe we should do something about it. And they have this education layer of trying to teach you how to put out the fire.
Yeah. And granted, I don't remember what the statistic is. I don't know. I heard it at one point and I was like, oh, that's way off from as big of a deal as people make it. But I remember it being something like only less than 5% or something like that of forest fires that happen in California, wildfires, are happening because of campfires that don't get put out correctly.
I'm sure. Yeah.
It's such a small amount compared to the other. Mostly it's usually
the
lightning strikes.
85% of PG&E fires.
PG&E and lightning. We can get rid of lightning and PG&E. We're good in California.
Right.
But like it's also it's one of those things where it's such a little effort thing to do.
Yeah.
That could stop a potentially big forest fire from happening. So
we're right back to educate. It's not a bad thing to educate people how to do this correctly.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin, for calling in.
Yeah. Actually, that's good information once again. Thank you for letting us know.
Let's see. Jimmy and Tyler, Dan in the PNW.
Okay.
PNW Dan.
Welcome, Dan.
Yeah. He's a host of a podcast.
Oh.
Yeah, let's see what he's got.
Maybe he's asking us to join him on his podcast. We'll find out how this goes.
See. Yeah.
What is up, Jimmy and Tyler? It's Dan from up here in the Pacific Northwest, and I am the host of the Avant podcast, and I want you guys on my show. So I've been a huge Morphlate fan, actually, forever. We built a stuff you should know about off-roading list on an episode 3 years ago, and mentioned you guys all the way back then.
Wow.
Kind of funny. I didn't actually know you guys had a podcast up until a couple of years ago. Been a loyal listener ever since. But Jimmy's done a great job on the little about section on the Snail Trail 4x4 website. But Tyler, you haven't done shit. I don't know shit about you. So I would love for you guys to come on the show. Tell me about how you got started in this. Tell me about Snail Armor. Tell me about Morphlate, my off-road radio, the whole nine. And love the show. Can't wait to talk to you guys. Really hope you take us up on it. And if you're ever up in the Pacific Northwest, look us up. Go to Avance.com. We've got an Avance California branch. We've got a magazine. We've got the podcast. We've got Colorado, Portland, Seattle, soon to be in a few other areas. We do an Avance off-road day. We do training courses, the whole nine. So we would love to partner with you guys, talk more with you guys, and don't have to play us on the show, but we would love to hook up with you guys, talk more. And if you're ever up in the Pacific Northwest, got property, got a place to stay, would love to do some off-roading with you. Not a lot of crawling up here, unfortunately, but yeah, it's mainly an overlanding area, which is not so exciting. I know, but we can still have some fun. We got some good food, we got some good views. Come check us out. Talk to you later. Keep crawling.
Dang, that's cool.
Why haven't we heard of Avant before?
Know. Why haven't I? He's got so much going on.
I know.
That's crazy. All right, we'll hook up with you, Dan.
It seems like we keep getting to know more and more people in the PNW. I think we're going to have to take a week or 2 week long trip to PNW at some point. So.
Yeah, maybe when, if not then, but before, but when Dirt Lifestyle Nate gets his shop running.
Yeah.
We're going up for that.
Yeah.
Within whatever year it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, if not up there, we'll definitely connect Dan. We'll circuit the wagons there. We'll look you up. We'll message you. We got your number.
True.
Yeah, but man, he sounds like he has a whole bunch of stuff going on.
I know.
Damn.
That's crazy.
I'll make a comment in regards to the website. Snail Trail 4x4 website started as the Snail Trail 4x4 YouTube channel. Then it moved a few years later into doing both of them, the YouTube channel and the podcast. And I haven't done a YouTube video in a long time. So it's primarily the podcast, but that is why there's really not a lot of Tyler's information on there.
Yeah.
It was my start of the YouTube channel, and we just never like merged the podcast stuff really direction.
I think you were doing the YouTube, was it 2 years or 3 years before we started the podcast?
I started YouTube in 17 and we did the podcast in 19.
19.
So 2 years. I was doing the YouTube channel for 2 years before that. And then we started the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did until like 2021 for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I was still doing YouTube.
Yeah.
And we were just hosting everything on the Snail Trail 4x4 website.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe we need to revamp the website and make more of a podcast side and more of a YouTube side and kind of separate those underneath the Snail Trail 4x4 umbrella a little bit and include more Tyler.
I like being a man of mystery. We can just leave me out of it.
That as well. Yeah. So that I do have a photo and I do have a blurb from you in our media kit. So
That's true.
I can steal that.
Okay.
All right.
That'll work.
But thanks for pointing that out, Dan. And yes, we'll connect.
Yeah, we'll connect for sure.
And I'll look your podcast up on my drive home.
Yep. Let's see. Next is Ben from Dover.
Okay.
So Ben from Dover, let's see what he's, not much to say. He's a quick one.
All right.
Hey, giggity.
Hey, Tyler, Jimmy, Ben from Dover here. The transmission cooler on your radiator will actually make your coolant hotter because you're putting hot oil into it. So I'd suggest adding an additional cooler, not making your radiator cooler worse. Just an opinion. Bye.
Well, opinions are like assholes.
Yeah, I thought about that when I was saying it too, because I was like, oh, now you got this other additional hot liquid going into the radiator, making it hot. And now your radiator is having to do the job of two radiators. But if you throw up another cooler in front of the radiator, then you have your radiator, your condenser, another radiator. It really is going to limit the airflow going through them.
It's going to limit the airflow, and the air that's coming through is just going to be hotter air too.
True.
So yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. So the thing that's stumping me right now, because MF or Ryan just dropped off the Forerunner. We kind of had a little talk about the overheating thing in my front yard there.
And a little bit on the last podcast.
And a little bit on the on Thursday's episode yesterday. The thing that's stumping me is that I'm getting 150 to 160 degrees out of the lower radiator hose. So, and 200 to 210, 215 in the upper radiator hose. So the radiator is working and it's dropping the temperature to lower than the thermostat. So I would assume that the radiator is working just fine and I'm not having an issue with the radiator being able to cool down the coolant system, but I'm still having overheating issues.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I don't know.
I'm going with the ball heater method.
The ball heater? All right.
I think that's going to be your solution.
Try that next.
Yep.
All right, next one. Cornel from Wyoming.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Have we had a Wyoming caller?
I don't know.
Hey, it's Cornel from Wyoming. I started listening about 4 years ago. Now I've got a Samurai, tore apart in the garage, sitting on jack stands. I just want to thank you guys for that, and now I have no money, so thanks. Bye.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, we're happy to spend other people's money.
Exactly. It's one of our favorite things here on this podcast is helping you guys spend your money. So that's cool. Yeah. Are you putting some Samurai 1 tons under it?
Yeah. What are you doing? Why didn't you fill us in? Why is it? What do you tore it apart for a reason?
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do now?
Maybe he's going to come out to ZukaCon.
That would be fun. Except it happened last week.
Well, he called before it happened.
Oh.
Maybe he was out. He got it together for ZukaCon and came out.
Next year. What was it? Cornel
from Wyoming.
Next year, ZukaCon 2025.
Mm-hmm.
You better be there.
Jimmy will have a Samurai.
I will not.
You could, but you fit in a Samurai. Though.
I would. I'll just steal one of Amber's.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, next one.
Thanks for calling, Cornel.
Yeah, seriously. Let us know more about Samurai. What do you got the plans for it? Call back in.
We like them too. They're not cheap.
Yeah, they're Japanese.
They're all under the rising flag or rising sun. That's
flag.
what I was trying for.
Next one is a very long voicemail. 369 10.5 minutes. Do we want to listen to it now, the whole thing, or?
I don't know. Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
It's from our favorite stripper.
That's our favorite stripper. So he's calling in 3-minute increments, because if you guys call into the voicemail, it cuts you off if you go beyond 3 minutes. So he called back 4 times.
Well, he called
four times. So we'll
this might be the one we cut.
Right. Yeah, we'll see.
Or we'll play it next week.
Yeah.
It'll just be next week's Snail Mail.
The whole episode is just him. All right, let's see what Reid's got to say.
Hey guys, it's Reid, your favorite stripper. I am calling again with more coding tips. I didn't take my ADHD meds today, so you're going to get a few messages. Anyways, yes, Tyler, you're kind of, in a rock and a hard place. Yes, the right way of doing it is to put it all together, make sure it works, and then take it all apart and then code it. But totally understand not tearing everything apart just to code it. Screw that. So I totally forgot your axles are basically brand new, and you're just dealing with surface rust. You look at it and it'll come off. Basically, wire wheel is good to take off the previous coatings, giving it a light tooth edge with sandpaper, whatever, and then the coatings. The Eastwood rust encapsulator, that does have a place in the coating world. Typically, I don't have a tech data sheet in front of me or the safety data sheet that tells me what's in it. But usually those are either a conversion coating, not a conversion coating, but like an acid etch coating, where it'll physically, have some type of light acid or solvent or anything to clean the rust away. In our experience, acid etch primers, they're porous. So that means they don't completely encapsulate the substrate, and the possibility of re-rusting is high. So in this particular situation, we're trying to coat the pieces, with the understanding of they're going to get the coating is going to get abraded away from rock rash, whatever. So I would recommend doing either a 2-coat system or a 1-coat system. 2-coat's going to be better, and that'll be a primer, preferably an epoxy, and a top coat, or just a top coat with a couple layers of the same coating, and you're fine. I'm watching the timer so I know where I left off. Let's read again. Believe I just started talking about epoxy or primers. The reason why they're called primers is because it's literally priming the substrate for the additional coating. They're really good against preventing corrosion from happening. Rust is corrosion. But UV rays and moisture will decimate an epoxy primer. So that's why we coat over them with acrylics, enamels, lacquers, what have you. And so if you do a 2-coat process, that's going to be the best, making it look good for long. I would not be afraid if you just got, the steel really clean and then just hit it twice with a couple layers of a top coat. And then you should be good to go. As far as prepping it, if you think about it, all the parts that you have together, they're already masking the critical areas or the critical dimensions that you don't want a coating there. So I think you have 60 outers. So let's say the ball joints, whatever, if they have like rubber shit on them, paint over it. Fuck it. It'll come off eventually. You know, it might look a little trashy, but it doesn't matter. You know, nothing critical is there, and it will self-clearance itself at some point. And then you mentioned getting things plated, which a plating process is a conversion coating, you know, or deposition of a separate, completely different metal, like zinc plating. Yeah, you'll have to take everything apart. Plating is good for rust protection, or prevention, sorry, and coatings are rust prevention. You have to stay on top of your coatings. You know, you have to recoat things. You have to remove the existing coating, put applying on, you know, like bridges. You know, and if you don't take care of your coatings, they fail. You know, the clear coat on my truck is failing on the roof because I don't wash and wax the thing because it's a truck. So stuff like that, but you're going to abrade away this coating. It's Reid again. I'm going for a record. I don't care. Fight me. So
he's a big
I think
dude.
I left off
I
about
don't want to fight him.
the clear coat failing on my truck because I didn't take care of it. Where in your situation with all rock crawlers, it's going to be UV stuff, you know, on the exterior of the vehicle. But in this case, it's going to be abrasion that's going to take away the underlying, the coating because rocks. You know, you can put on more, when you see it start to wear through or wearing away. And, you know, you just gonna have to stay on top of that. So that's probably where an aerosol form of a coating is going to be beneficial because you could always just, well, it's rusting right there. Sand it with some Scotch-Brite, throw some coating on there, and there you go. Because rust is oxidation. Iron oxidizes into rust, and when you remove the oxygen, whether it's from moisture in the air or you know, water, it won't rust. And that's what coatings do, is they encapsulate the substrate to prevent any oxidation from happening. When things do rust and oxidize, it doesn't necessarily eat away into the substrate. It does, but very slowly, but it actually pushes the coating off. That's why when you see any, any coating on a car that's failing, like a rust spot, it bubbles outward. The rust will push the coating up and off. Hence, blasting, sanding, whatever to provide that tooth or an etch for the coating to grab onto. So if everything's kind of clean already, just hit it with Scotch-Brite, sandpaper, clean it with some type of solvent like acetone, and coat it. And yeah, you'll miss some spots here and there, and at least you'll know where those places are for next time. I think the timer's almost up for the third time. Yeah, I can continue to go on about this. It's literally what I do. Almost got my protective coating specialist degree and chemical engineering degree, but COVID fucking happened. Anyway, keep crawling. Bye.
So what's this last one? It sounded like it was done. Did he call back like 5 minutes later still?
8:13, 18. Yeah.
Okay, so he continues on.
Continues on.
All right.
Okay, fourth time. This one's going to be quick. So going on a tangent there because this is more of a rushed explanation, so everyone listening can hear it. Basically, you want to start with the perfect finish. That's our trademark, by the way, for your coatings. There is a YouTube channel called Practical Engineering, and they do a really good 14-minute video that kind of describes what's the difference like between coatings or primer. But yeah, YouTube search Practical Engineering. I know it starts with the videos starts with what's the difference between like paint or coatings, whatever. Definitely a good watch to briefly understand, you know, the science and importance behind all that crap. But yeah, we're just painting rock crawlers. Doesn't need to be that crazy. So yeah, whatever you do to coat that thing, stop the rust from happening, should be fine. Okay. Bye.
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 All right. So summary. Whatever you do to paint and coat it was going to work just fine.
Yeah.
Stop the rust from forming.
Well, I took a few things away from that, which was thanks, Reid, for calling in and giving us some detailed explanations about coatings. Your wisdom is always welcome on those things. I never really thought let me back up. I always just assumed that rock rash is going to be the worst thing for our coatings, right?
Yeah.
But he did explain that moisture is also really bad for epoxies, which I never really thought about, but completely makes sense.
Yeah.
So, we're going to drive over rocks, and that's going to be the primary purpose or the primary source of exposing metal in underneath our vehicles. But we do drive around in a lot of places where there is moisture as well, going through some puddles or snow or any of that. And that's going to ruin some of that epoxy as well. So that's a valid point. He also pointed out that UV is really bad on those things as well, but under the vehicle, you're not going to get as much UV as we do on top of the vehicle.
Yeah.
So that I understand that UV is not quite as important in this aspect or this scenario.
Yeah. He said that one of the things he mentioned is that most of the things when it comes to axle and suspension, the important stuff, the critical stuff that you don't want to coat is usually all covered up. And so kind of just, you know, go for it and paint it. If you paint over your rubber encapsulated ball joints, who cares?
Yeah. Especially if it's clear.
Right. So that was that was one of the benefits of doing the clear coat on everything.
Yeah.
But the downside to clear coat is that you can't tell when it's removed.
Sure. So
like what I used to do on the Toyota axles and the leaf springs, everything before we swapped everything, was I just used a black outdoor primer spray paint. Right? An aerosol can, because we wheel on granite rocks a lot. And if we hit a rock or something, it shows up as this bright white mark.
Yeah. Metal.
And so it's very easy on black paint to tell where you hit rocks at.
Sure.
And so the benefit to that was I just pull out, you know, make sure it's not damaged anything. Then I can pull out a spray paint can and go over it real quick and it's gone back to new, I guess.
Kind of. Yeah.
But I didn't want to do that necessarily on this build because I wanted to be able to show off all the welds because it really is gorgeous. So I don't want to cover all that up, but I think I need to. And my concern with just going through and spray painting everything without taking it all apart is getting the threads gummed up on stuff like the joints, the suspension joints, the heims on the steering. But I mean, if I'm just really careful with masking tape, painter's tape, I should be able to cover up and protect all the threads and then just blast everything with the spray paint.
Yeah, absolutely. And if anything, that will be your unloosening prevention.
Yeah, that's true too. Maybe that's what I do for that upper link. Just spray paint the threads and then that jam nut won't bag off anymore.
It'll make it thick enough and hard enough to prevent it from undoing itself.
I might just
paint everything in red Loctite.
There you go. Yeah, we can do that too. No, so thank you, Reid, for calling in. It does give me some ideas, and I think clearer direction on where I think I'm going to go with it all. And I think I'm just going to go and do what I did with the old axles. And I'm going to have to cover up all the welds and paint it because I want to protect it. Protecting it is more important to me than making it look pretty. I'm sorry, Brian, at Four Wheel Underground. Your welds and your guys' stuff is awesome.
Yeah.
But I want to also protect it and make sure that it stays on the vehicle a long time so I can keep showing it off.
To some extent, welds still show through.
That's true. Yeah.
But it's just not as visible. It doesn't, your vehicle stands out more because it's unpainted. And people are like, wait, why is this unpainted? And then they'll start looking at it, right? If it's just a black undercarriage, that's just a black undercarriage.
Yeah.
It's, a dime a dozen. Everybody has a black undercarriage.
Yep.
So maybe it needs to be neon green.
The whole undercarriage, neon green. Ooh, that'd be interesting. Now, one thing I do want to do
the eyes.
One thing I really want to do, if I go the whole black route, is to take the diamond on the diamond axle, his logo. Sorry, Brian Ellinger, and remove that diamond logo and make some MF. The Morphlate logos and put those on in neon green. So it's all black. And then there's this bright neon green MF on the pumpkins.
Sure. Follow that. Yeah.
So that's, I think, really what I want to do. And I think what I'm going to end up doing.
Cool.
So,
well, that was a good chunk of information and a good snail mail episode. If you guys want to call in and be a part of snail mail, you can definitely do that. The phone number is area code 916-345-4744. You can also hit us up on Instagram. I'm over at Snail Trail 4x4. Tyler's at 4x4 Toyota Tyler. And you can also find us on Facebook or on iRate 4x4. And you can hit us up on email, Jimmy or Tyler at snailtrail4x4.com.
That's right. I guess that's all we got, man.
Sounds good.
Sweet. We'll see you guys next time. Keep crawling.
Peace.
The number you have called has been disconnected.